In this video I will share my journey from filming with my mobile phone to full frame and explain why I ultimately ended up with the Sony A7 IV and the considerations and thoughts that led me there. And when it comes to making such a decision, one thing I always do is intensive research and planning. So grab a drink, maybe a little snack, and let's get started. Welcome back to my channel, and for those who don't know me yet, I'm Christian, a tech nerd and a passionate camera enthusiast. Those familiar with my channel will notice that when I create a video, I put in the greatest effort to present it in detail. This is a result of throughout research and planning. The same applies when I'm making a purchase, especially in the higher price range, where a careful consideration is essential. Therefore, when I buy something, I ensure it meets all my needs or involves the smallest compromises. As you can imagine, this is not easy in the camera sector, given the broad band of a lot of brands, models, use cases, third-party option, and of course a significant aspect, the price, and whether I actually like the camera. By the way, if you find the video entertaining, I would greatly appreciate a like and subscription, because you are the reason I can make these videos and grow the channel. Thank you very much. And a quick disclaimer, nothing in this video is sponsored. No one has given me any product in this video. What I share reflects my personal experiences, and I hope it can be helpful to you. Alright, where did I leave off? Right, the selection of cameras. First and foremost, one must consider their own use case. Why do I need the camera at all? Do I need a dedicated camera, or is my smartphone sufficient considering its already impressive photo and video quality? Additionally, the convenience of always having the device with you comes also into play. So it's a win-win-win situation, I would say, in that case. I agree with that, and before delving deeper into videography, I filmed entire vacation videos with my phone, edited them in various video editing tools, and no one in the family complained about the video quality, because it's fundamentally about memories and not the perfect blurry background seen in Hollywood movies. This skiing video, for example, here was, by the way, one of my first projects recorded with two different phones, with quite old ones, I would say. With some sound effects and transitions, it doesn't look too bad. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you agree? Okay, after my initial jump into videography with a smartphone, I wanted more control, better quality, and a bit of background blur to make the videos look more professional. However, I still wanted something compact and didn't want to spend thousands of euros, because at that point I would say I wasn't where I wanted to be personally. As you probably know, hobbies can suddenly lose their appeal, and the camera might end up collecting dust in a corner around here. So I conducted extensive research and found the Sony ZV-1. Why this camera? First, it was marketed as a vlogging camera, and a few years ago I had toyed with the idea of starting a YouTube channel. Second, the price was very attractive, at least for me, at around 700 euros back then, with a built-in lens featuring optical zoom, and it has a size glass, by the way. Moreover, all the YouTube tests convinced me. For such a small camera, the 4K quality and low light performance are impressive. Long story short, I used the camera intensively for 3 years. It's still here, and I still use it when I want something compact, or larger cameras are simply not allowed. To convince you of the quality, I uploaded this video on YouTube a few years ago as a test. I think you can already see the difference from the skiing smartphone video to this one. But even that was not enough for me personally. Since I had been involved in videography for over 5 years by early 2023 and had been taking photos for what felt like an eternity, damn, I got my first Olympus camera around 25 years ago for Christmas. Okay, I'm really old. I wanted to take it to the next level. Influenced by YouTube camera enthusiasts like Peter McKinnon, Potato Chat, Mark Bennett, Matti Hapoya, or of course Gerald Undone, whom I've been following for years, it was clear. The new camera would be an APS-C or full frame camera. If you want to check out these channels, by the way, I will gladly link them in the description below. Well, initially I looked into the brand and big surprise, I ended up with Canon or Sony. In between, about a year before, I think I had already decided on the APS-C Sony A6400 and even bought extra batteries for this camera, although I didn't have the camera yet. By the way, don't do that, I didn't end up buying the camera, but the return period had already expired, so yeah, not my shining moment, I would say. However, I stuck with the Sony ZV-1 because I already felt that at that time the camera was very good, but not what I had envisioned really. The price attracted me and the versatility was there, but in the end I decided against it. A year passed and I knew I wanted a change, so I activated my research mode again and ended up with, yeah, you already guessed it, Canon or Sony again. Oh, wait, that's not totally the truth. Panasonic just released the A7IV II with incredibly good stabilization at the time as well. But I dismissed this again because in my opinion the lens selection was limited and it was the first camera with the new eye autofocus system. Yeah. So I continued my search and ended up with Canon or Sony again. This time firmly in the full frame category, as I knew that if I went with APS-C, I would be eyeing full frame cameras a few years later because of the look and low light capability. Anyway, as I already own a Canon A7D with 2L lenses, only taking photos with it, I considered whether DSLR lenses with an adapter could work on a Canon mirrorless camera as well, and because in my opinion Canon has one of the most beautiful out of the camera color profiles. I would describe it as pleasantly warm. Well, for photos you just use RAW and adjust everything later. With videos it's different, much more time consuming, and sometimes it's no longer possible to adjust the colors properly unless you shoot in log, but that takes time, and honestly I'm a fan when the material that comes straight out of the camera already looks good. Sure, you can make a few adjustments, but if color grading takes more time than cutting the whole video, it doesn't add much value, suppressing my semi-professionalism, if you know what I mean. But I'm digressing. Ultimately, the Canon EOS R6 Mark II made it on my potential shopping list. Good stabilization, though it wobbles a bit, very good quality and colors, Canon body ergonomics always top notch. Ideal for both photos and videos, and it even handles 60 frames per second for videos without significant crop. If you're not sure why 60 frames per second is important, feel free to check out my video here, where I precisely describe what frame rates are and why they are important for videos. Since I had been saving for such a camera for some time, it was within my price range, at least with the kit lens, as I planned to continue using my old EF DSLR lenses with an adapter. At that time it cost around 2,700 bucks. Well, thank goodness I continued researching, it seemed to work well, the adapter for photos, but for videos my research indicated that the eye autofocus and many other features might not work that way I would expected it. So to be honest, the statements were varied, and when you're investing in such an expensive camera, you want to make sure everything works flawlessly so you don't really regret it later. especially if it involves compromises you didn't really choose or know about beforehand. Okay, those were my reasons why the Canon was very high on the list at that time. But I kept searching because I wasn't sure about the lenses, and at that time Canon didn't allow cheaper, high-quality third-party lenses. Since I was already very satisfied with my Sony ZV-1, it was clear that I definitely had to dive into the Sony full-frame range as well. Said and done. Sony offered 3 series, let's say for ordinary people that still put a substantial strain on their wallet, but are not yet professional devices like the FX3 or FX6 series, especially in terms of prices. Anyway, I'm talking about the A7 series, the A7R series and the A7S series, and the one without any letter. I think I will make a separate video about this series and go into each category more detailed. For now, let's just say that the A7 without R or S is a hybrid camera that can handle both photos and videos, but requires compromises in both. The A7R series, on the other hand, has a very high megapixel count, making it the optimal choice for photographers who can extract the best form photos up to poster prints. The A7S series is the opposite. It's primarily for videographers. The sensor has only 12 megapixels, but it is extremely well suited for low light shots. Even in the worst lighting conditions, you can still get good videos. Photos are also okayish, but that's definitely not the main use case for this camera. It's video first. Then there's the A7 without any additions. Currently still the A7IV, a hybrid camera that can do everything, but not as well as its specialized sibling from the A7 series. Moreover, it costs less than $1,000 in comparison to the S series, for example, body only. But still does a lot very well, not perfectly, but very well. In terms of specifications, it's quite comparable to the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, at least for me, where the Canon has only 24.2 megapixels and the Sony has 33 megapixels. The advantage of higher megapixels is that the camera can capture photos in larger dimensions, but the downside is that the camera's processing power must be higher, generating more heat. This is one of the reasons why there are so many "does my camera overheat" videos out there. Of course, it depends on many other criteria, such as the body's material, the camera's size, built-in ventilation, processor, and a lot more. That's why the A7 IV switches to APS-C crop mode at 4K 60 FPS recording. It means it can't deliver 60 FPS with the full sensor. There would also be a workaround for that though. You could use an external monitor, the Ninja 5 I think, to record your footage in 4K 60 without a crop via the A7 IV, but frankly I never needed it. But I think it's getting too technical now. What I wanted to say is that especially for videos there is a limitation there, which is not so drastic for me that I decided against the camera because the other criteria simply meet my expectations, and if I know I can handle it, it's fine for me. Alright, let's talk about stabilization. Here too, in my opinion, Canon is superior to Sony. However, you can recognize Canon's stabilizer by the wobble effect, similar to when you do it in post and the background wobbles back and forth. I think those familiar with it know what I mean. I see it immediately, but I think it's better than a completely shaky image, but yeah, that's also a matter of taste or maybe a certain style. With Sony, on the other hand, stabilization is okay, but not as strong as with Canon. However, the in-body image stabilization IBIS works well enough for my needs on the A7 IV, and if I have really shaky shots, Sony offers the free Catalyst program, which, based on recorded gyroscopic data, adds a very good stabilizer in post-production without heavily cropping into the image. If you don't know it, I will put the link in the description below, and if you want to make me a video about it, let me simply know it in the comments as well. Okay, there is also a suitable workaround for that. For me, the two cameras were neck and neck. Regarding the image itself, there's not much to say about the sharp 4K quality. Sony is a tad sharper because it downsamples from 7K to 4K due to the sensor size, making the image razor sharp. For me, not really an advantage, as I prefer the cinematic look, and in that style the images aren't extremely sharp, but it's good to have the option. You can always reduce sharpness in post-production as well, so also not a big issue. As for colors, in my opinion, Canon still does better, but Sony cameras in the lineup also received an update, making the colors look better. With small tweaks directly in the camera, you can achieve results that, in my opinion, eliminate the need for color grading afterward. By the way, all my YouTube videos recorded with the A7 IV are either not edited at all or only minimal edited. But enough of that. Let's get to the essential point of why I chose Sony. The selection of lenses and third-party providers like Sigma or Tamron, for example. This wasn't available with Canon. You always had to go with their native RF lenses, which, while similar in pricing to the original Sony FE lenses, lack the opinion to get comparable focal length and quality from third-party manufacturers at a more, I would say, affordable price. As an example, I can mention my Sigma lens 60-28 f2.8, which I reviewed about a year ago. I also did a video about that. It cost me just under 800 euros, and there was also a Tamron available at a similar price. The Sony equivalent would be at 16-35mm, and we're talking about roughly twice the price. While it has a bit more focal length range, it's also significantly heavier. For me, the Sigma was qualitatively sufficient, and I still use this wide-angle lens beast for most of my talking headshots. The comparable Canon lenses is priced about the same as the Sony, but I didn't see any alternatives there. Long story short, for me it was more important to have more options among lens manufacturers. Besides, I personally think it also pushes more innovation, leading to more product variations or new releases driven by competition. Price-wise, there's really nothing to complain about. Additionally, I still use and continue to use my Sony ZV-1. In terms of file format, colors and settings look, I would say they are very similar. I can easily use the ZV-1 as a B-cam. That's why I chose the Sony A7 IV and haven't regretted it a single day since not choosing the Canon. The only thing I'm currently contemplating is the A7S III or the more compact ZV-1, which essentially has the same sensor and features as the A7S III, but comes in a smaller and newer body with more features like AI stuff. However, it tends to overheat more easily, which is less of a problem for me because I don't record for extremely long durations. However, I love my Sony A7 IV and don't want to miss the option of high-resolution photos. Therefore, I could envision the ZV-1 as an ideal second camera for a different angle shot or as a lighter alternative for vacation. But then again, practically speaks to me, as I don't really need it when I already have an A7 IV and don't do videography professionally. But who knows what the future holds. Alright, and I think that's the story of why I chose the Sony A7 IV. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my experiences. If this video resonated with you or sparked questions, drop a comment. Also tell me about your camera journey. Share which cameras you use and if you are happy with them. What's your take on my choice on this Sony A7 IV? Do you have any other camera preferences? I would say let's chat about it down there. I would be happy to answer all your questions. If you enjoyed this video and liked hearing about my journey with the A7 IV, it would be great if you gave it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down there for more tech and camera content in future. Also check out other videos popping up somewhere now around here, and I always appreciate when you watch my awesome stuff. Thank you for being part of our community. Take care and see you in the next one.